Everyone. Welcome to the solar release webinar. We're just going to give everyone a minute to join and then we will go ahead and get started. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and just kick us off. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning to some folks. Welcome to the solar release webinar. I am Jasmin Sanchez, Senior Product Manager here at Youreka. And with me, I have Gary Stom, Director of Solution Engineering. We just want to extend a huge thank you for everyone to take the time out of their day to get excited about the Solar One release and to hear more about what it entails. We do have folks keeping an eye on our webinar chat space, so please ask questions as we run through this presentation or shout out something you're getting super excited about. Solar One is jam-packed with updates as well as new features. So we will be going over the new Youreka Fuse and Youreka Maps feature, as well as touching on some updates made to this table sections experience. Also, our rapid response team has stayed busy and a few minor enhancements and bug fixes are coming as well. And then we'll end the webinar with a Q&A session where we look forward to answering any questions that you may have. I'm going to hand it off to my pal Gary to tell us about the new game-changing experience that is Youreka Maps.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. I'm super excited to introduce Youreka Maps, and I'll dive into a demo here in just a second, but want to frame that conversation up and let you know that a lot of our customers had asked and had been mentioning it sure would be great to be able to see geospatial data on a map, be able to click through their forms on that map and interact with that data. And prior to today, that required another technology. That meant that our customers had to have another mobile application or another technology. A lot of times we were deep linking back and forth. And so we had to manage those mobile devices and make sure that everything was communicating properly. And now with our solar release, I'm pleased to announce that we can start to see your assets, work orders, jobs, assignments, things like that. We can all see that inside of Youreka, click into a point, and then be able to see all of our forms. This is going to be great for driving operational efficiency, especially with your technicians that are out in the field and they get assigned a new appointment, someone cancels, something changes. They can start to see surrounding jobs and work orders, pick up those items, and potentially prevent another truck from having to be rolled later today, tomorrow, later this week, driving a lot of that type of efficiency. All that said, let me show a quick preview of what that looks like. And here I am inside of the Youreka mobile application. And I hope that everybody's familiar with this, but I'll give us a quick preview of what a form fill looks like in a second. But this is the Youreka mobile application. And what we're looking at is a list of all of our work orders or jobs or service appointments that we might have assigned to us today. And what we're all too accustomed to, we have the ability to deep link into one of our favorite navigation apps. And so we can get turn-by-turn navigation, which is super helpful, but it's really only geared towards that one work order, that one job, or that one asset that we're focusing on. So all that said, what the map experience looks like, we have this button up here, and we can start to see all that geospatial data on a map that's interactive for our technicians out in the field. So as I zoom in, it starts to show me all of the available pins for work that needs to be completed today or this week or however long we want to focus on that map. Now, let's click into our City Hall pin here, for instance. And in the spirit of March Madness, we have an inspection that we need to do. So we're going to go into our asset inspection, and we can see all that rich data flowing in directly from Salesforce. And I can go through my inspection, making sure that I'm taking all the appropriate safety precautions. I can use voice to text to capture all of that complex data, especially as I have gloves on as I'm working on that asset. And then I can even see not only the data that's flowing in from Salesforce, but the actual work that I need to render. So we've got some lights that are out here. We've got a broken asset that we'll start to work on in a second. And we can even load PDFs to guide us through that process to make sure that any of those technical specs are executed properly in that experience. Now, I'll continue on and just click through real quick so we can all see what that experience looks like. We can even capture photos here, maybe the asset before. We can mark it up, notate any of those items. We certainly can do barcode scanning and even do some calculations in form and do this in an on or offline state. Now, we're also going to give you a quick preview of our GA release of table sections here, but this is a great way to start to incorporate lots of data, lots of questions in a form without taking up a lot of real estate and capture that data quickly and easily. So just to give you a quick example, I can start to tab through and fill out any of those values, and you can see it can even do some calculations there. But a lot of rich data flowing in to allow me to capture that information quickly and easily. For those of you that are very familiar with the app, we can pull in related lists of data. We can add new line items, et cetera, sum all that information up. And of course, we'll close this out, sign off, and submit our form. Now, I'm a technician that's completed my work at City Hall, and I want to pick up my next job. So as I click back, I can take a look at that map. And I was intending on going to Hyde Industries for my second job. So as I click in, down below, I can see my mobile card, and I can even expand that card. And now I can see that Hyde, unfortunately, maybe they resolved their own problem from taking a look at our support documentation, but that order has been canceled. So now with Youreka Maps, I can start to navigate around on the map and identify, especially if you want your technicians the autonomy to identify new work orders and potentially drive some of that operational efficiency. We can start to tab in and take a look at a new status of our new work order here and pick this item up because potentially we have some free time in there. But a great way to be able to use the interactive map and see any and all work, jobs, assets, all on the map, and then complete our forms, and then move on to the next point in the map. Now, I also want to just mention quickly, for those of you that are familiar with ArcGIS, you can layer that data on top of it. So if you want to see pipeline information, power lines, water lines, all of that, those layers that you're using today, we can incorporate directly into the map. So you'd be able to see that information. And best of all, this is all available offline. So you're able to zoom in, click into your pins, do all of your work, create new forms, and we can do that all in an on or offline state because Youreka, of course, is built in offline first, for example. Now, let me hand this back off to Jasmin to show you some of our new features beyond the maps piece that we're super excited about. And I also want to just give our product and engineering team a shout out. I'm very excited about this maps piece. Specifically, Justin Lebo, great work on this. Very excited. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to Gary for showing that feature off. I'm personally really thrilled that we finally got to show maps off to the world. And now for another feature that I'm equally proud and excited for, and that is Youreka Fuse. So this is also another game changer for both Youreka and all its users. So Youreka is now embedded and exists in the Salesforce Field Service app, also referred to as SFS Mobile. So we call this integration Youreka Fuse because you're fusing together two very powerful applications. So some folks listening may be familiar with SFS Mobile, since today many of our users do start their day there, where they familiarize themselves with their service appointments and tasks for the day when they finally then deep link into Youreka to complete their forms. So what this means today or prior to Fuse is that users spend time priming and gathering the latest data for two applications. And again, that's SFS Mobile and Youreka Mobile. So you're jumping between two applications, you're having to maintain the two. So performance may be compromised since, again, time is spent between the two applications, but now comes in Youreka Fuse. And essentially how we did that is Youreka is embedded into SFS Mobile through a Lightning Web Component or an LWC, which is existing Salesforce functionality. So the pro of using an LWC is that, one, it exists today and is reliable. It's super easy to build upon, which is a pro for Youreka, which also does mean that there may be some exciting enhancements to Fuse in the future. And it's easily customizable to our users, which is you all. So a question that you may be thinking is, how do I get Youreka into SFS Mobile? And it's super easy, and I'm glad you're thinking about that. It's simple. First, you need a quick action, which if you're familiar with SFS Mobile or Salesforce in general, can just take a few minutes. And you have to create a briefcase if your users will require an offline experience. So again, like I mentioned, the quick action is super easy to create, and we will have all that information about how to set up Youreka Fuse properly documented in a Fuse knowledge base article. So what does the beta version of Fuse entail? First, users will be able to access existing Youreka forms, so forms that have already been created. It'll work in an offline state, like I mentioned, if you set up a briefcase. It is available on both iOS and Android devices, and there will be some other form capabilities, which takes me into our demo of this feature. So I'm going to click play, and I'm going to pause quite a bit as this video goes on. But if you're not familiar with SFS Mobile, this is the app that I'm in. So I'm in my schedule view where I can see some service appointments that have been assigned to me. I'm on that service appointment now. I'm going to click on my related list and then navigate to my forms. So kind of similar to Youreka today where I have my forms list. I clicked my form. I'm going to pause here. This is the quick actions drawer that I was talking about earlier. So once I set up a quick action, and here I set up a quick action labeled open form, I can go ahead and click that. And quickly what's going to happen is I am now in a Youreka form. So I'm going to, again, pause, like I said. The content in this form is not that important. What I do want to call out as we go through is the features that are available and working in Fuse today. So at the top, you can see there are these action buttons: quick save, save and close, and submit, which I think a lot of us are familiar with. Images, standard sections with fields that are already pre-populated, text fields, radio buttons, like one I just selected, images that are going to help me with my guided experience. Again, a section with pre-populated data. Pagination also works here. So I'm going to change pages. And you can see another question type that's available, and that's pick lists. Again, another really important thing to help with this idea of a guided experience is based on information I provide, it's going to show me other questions that will be important for me to provide data on. Photo and attachment question types. I can either upload an existing photo from my device or just capture a photo like that was done right there. I'm able to remove that photo if it's no longer needed. And again, I can answer that radio button question, provide another image if needed. I'm going to go ahead and select this last radio button. Again, that display logic, that conditionality is being done there. And again, like I talked to images, how important they are to help with the guided experience and help me answer questions with confidence. So again, that's all available. You probably do a lot of this in your Youreka form today. Lastly, I'm going to go to my last page. This is super exciting to me because I hate math. So form data calculations, numerical formula calculations are being done on the fly. So as I provide some data, there's being calculations done in the back end, super quick, going to spew out a number to me. The question label here is highlighted in green, which is obviously giving me some sort of context, whether that's the number that's being provided here meets the requirement. This next one, voice text. If I'm in the field and I have very clunky gloves and I don't want to spend time typing a whole paragraph out, I can just use my device's default voice text to provide that feedback here. Just like you see being done right now. I'm going to answer my last radio button question and click submit. This part's very important because everyone's probably wondering what just happened with all that data I provided. Just like in Youreka Mobile, once I save or submit a form, all that data is getting pushed back into Salesforce. Your form detail is being updated. Answers are being created. All those images or data that you captured is being stored in Salesforce as well. Nothing's being lost. I do want to quickly call out something else. When I was completing this form, there was not one point where I had to hop into Youreka Mobile to complete that experience. I was in SFS Mobile. I had all the contextual information I needed. And again, if there was a point I had to go offline, I didn't have to go prime Youreka Mobile to do so. So that is Youreka Fuse. I will keep mentioning this, but we have a Fuse specific knowledge base article where it details how to set up this feature. So talking through quick actions, the briefcase, and also we have a detailed list of what features are currently supported in the beta version. I'm going to quickly take a look at our chat. Thank you guys for posting the links. Let me change the slide. Oops. Awesome. So now table sections. We've made some updates to the existing table sections feature. Table sections is now available in a GA state with the Solar release. And I want to quickly say thank you to those that tested this feature during the beta period and provided feedback to help make this feature powerful and useful. I'm going to quickly run through what table sections is for those that may be unfamiliar. I know Gary showed a quick view of it in his form, but table sections was one of our top 5 most highly requested features, and the product and engineering team worked exceptionally hard to push out a beta version of table sections in the Reactor 1 release. But the hard work didn't end there. We took a lot of feedback provided during the beta period and worked on introducing some enhancements that I'll go over in 1 second. So table sections can help you elevate the way your teams collect, display, and interact with data. So there's no longer a need to hop from page to page, analyzing field by field to sort and review information while completing your form. So some key benefits here are you're saving time while providing and comparing that data. Again, like I mentioned, you don't have to hop through like page 1 to page 3 and back. You'll have groups of related data in a line that will be easier to analyze on the go. And table sections is available across all device types. So whether you're completing a form on a larger device like an iPad or a smaller handheld phone, you'll be able to view the table and input all that information. And organizations are no longer dependent on CSS. So building a table is a seamless process in Template Builder. So if you want to re-edit that table, add a column or a row, that's fairly easy. And I know with custom CSS, it's pretty tricky. Users will be able to see the patterns and distinction between key data sets. So there will be a sense of intuitive decision-making because of this. If you've been watching that GIF over and over, you've probably been able to tell that these many forms represent the many different ways users can easily capture and input data within a table. So whether you're answering yes and no questions or inputting numerical data like Gary was in his demo, the opportunities with table sections are truly endless. So now with those enhancements I was talking through earlier, we now support the following question types. So field links, date, time, checkbox list, e-signature, and pick list. So what that means is when you drag and drop a table section in your form template in Template Builder, and you drag a question into a cell, these questions will now be available for selection. Additional error handling support. So we took into consideration the layout of a table and came up with the best way to present errors to user in those individual cells if they exist. So before, you couldn't really tell you couldn't properly identify where the error existed, but now each cell will be highlighted red if an error exists within it. Bulk editing of cells. So in Template Builder, there will be a paintbrush available in the table section where you have the option to add specific designs to a cell. So whether that's like cell border color or the cell fill color, you can paste those edits into one or many cells. So a lot of time saving here. Next is cloning of cells, which is kind of similar to the one we just went over. You can select one cell and paste the contents of that one cell into one or many other empty cells that exist in that table. And lastly, support of managed template creation. I'm going to wrap this feature up by asking that you please refer to our knowledge base article for table sections to get more information about the requirements and setup of this feature. Awesome. Now we're wrapping things up. So we do have a new feature. It's an enhancement called soft validation and linked section cards. So if you're familiar with this experience, linked section cards, when opened, it takes up the full view of your device. It opens up a full card. In order to see if error exists in that card, the form user has to either save or submit the form. So if errors do exist when you click submit, before this enhancement, the form user would have to open up each individual linked section card, resolve those errors, close the card out, and then resubmit the form. This was a huge time and efficiency killer. So with this enhancement, the form user has the option to validate the fields in that link section card before exiting. They don't have to do this. It's an optional experience. But if they'd like to see if the data provided in those link section cards was accurate and meets all the requirements to properly submit that form, they can validate all that data that exists in that card. And lastly, I'd like to mention that our rapid response team that was founded and created to support you all, our users, still exists and works hard on a daily basis to work with our customer success and the support team to make sure that all requests are being resolved. If you want to read more about what that team has been working on this release, please visit the Solar One release notes. Thank you, everyone. Now for Q&A time. Again, besides questions about items that we went over, it would also be great to hear about what features you are excited about and eager to dig into.
Great work, Jasmine. That was all very exciting. I also want to mention we saw a couple of people join at about the 5-minute mark, and that may have been after our maps demo. Just to let everybody know, we'll be sharing this recording out afterward. You'll have an opportunity to dig back in and see any and all of the new features and functionality that we released. We'll leave it open for another minute or so just to see if there's any other questions. Don't be shy. We're happy to answer those questions, and then we'll wrap things up and close it out. But thank you guys very much for joining today. All right, excellent. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Really appreciate everybody joining and carving that out of your calendar. And if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. But in the interim, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good day, everyone.